Here's a little project that I've been working on. This is one of my 1950s GE box fans. This is the one that's made for a stand, and it's just 3-speed single direction. So I was trying to balance the blade and didn't really get anywhere with that. It wasn't too bad to start with because I already had these shelf clips on there to balance it out a little bit, but I wanted to mess with it a little bit more, which I shouldn't have done, but it'll be fine. The main problem was the rotor. Sometimes with these motors the shaft gets loose inside of the rotor and it can just slide out. So I've had that issue before, and I've dealt with it before on that GE window fan right there. And what I did is I cleaned it up real good and used Gorilla Glue. Now I did that last year with that window fan and it's still holding up just fine. And this has been sitting for about 24 hours, so I'm getting ready to put this rotor back in the motor, and it should work just fine. Because when I was repeatedly taking the blade off of this thing and putting it back on, it ended up getting loose. And the reason I kept taking it off is because you'll notice someone did a modification to this. Normally it would just have these 3 rivets. This one also has 3 nuts and bolts on it, because this part that the shaft goes through was actually loose on the blade hub. So somebody had to modify that, and it is very, very sensitive to how tight you have each of these nuts. They can throw the balance off really, really quickly if you just tighten them a little bit too much or leave them a little bit too loose. So that was pretty annoying, and the reason I had to keep taking it off is because I had to get to the flathead screws with a screwdriver and hold them in place. Some of them would stay in place by themselves, but there was one that kept spinning, so I had to keep taking the blade off, and it was pretty tight on the shaft, and that just ended up making this shaft get loose, and I had to glue it. So that should be nice and permanent because, like I said, it worked really well on the last one. If I have to use JB Weld, I will, because I know that would be a little stronger, but for now I think the Gorilla Glue is going to be fine. And over here I got another rotor out of a GE box fan. This one is from the diffuser grill model, and this rotor is totally messed up. So it came out of that fan right there. As you can see, I tried to use a set screw. That didn't work, and the hole in this rotor for the shaft is just too big now. The shaft does not fit in there tightly no matter what, so that kind of eliminates the possibility of me gluing it in there. What I tried to do is wrap the shaft with an aluminum, or part of an aluminum soda can, to try and take up the extra space, and that definitely made it tighter, but it's still slightly loose. It's not perfectly centered, and this thing will not spin properly. It spins freely when you have the fan turned off, like if you just spin it by hand, but if you try to turn it on, it does not want to spin. Again, because it's just not centered properly anymore, and there's nothing I can really do to fix that at this point. I just need a new rotor. And I know for a fact that it's not centered because this was actually scraping against the stator in the motor. So, just gonna have to get a new rotor for this one, unfortunately. I should have just used the Gorilla Glue or JB Weld to start with on this. But no, I had to try using a set screw, and that completely ruined it. And I did learn something new. This is the rotor that's damaged beyond repair. You can see this one is deeper than this one. So the stator on that diffuser grill model is bigger than the stator on this one, which is interesting. I also went ahead and cleaned the felt material with soap and water. That's what goes in the back of the motor. Let me see if I can get a view of that. It goes on the back of the motor and holds oil. And to take the plate off that's on the back of the motor, If you're not familiar with these, you do have to drill a hole and pry it off. That's the only way to really get these off. Alright, I got the rotor back inside of the stator, and now we have to put these washers on the back of the rotor, or I mean on the back of the shaft, and then this C-clip, goes on and holds it in place. Got the washers on and the C-clip is on. It's spinning nice and free. So I'm going to put that felt pad back in there wherever it is. It's right here. And put some oil in it. Put the cover back on. And we'll give it a test run. And there is the padding material back in. Going to put some oil in that, and then I'm going to put the cover on and use that hole that I drilled as an oil port. Alright, got it all put back together. Let's turn it on. It's nice and quiet. Yeah, that's running real smooth. So I'm going to put the blade on now. I'll test run it with that. I actually want to sand the shaft down a little bit so it's easier to get the blade on and off. I don't want to have to force it like I did before. I went ahead and put some more oil in it so the spin down time is even longer now. Alright, I'm going to try putting the blade on. Alright, blade slid on nice and easy. Let's start it up. Nice and quiet. Medium. And high speed. It is still a little off balance, so I gotta do something about that, but it's running nicely now. And it's got a good spin down time.